Now that we've done this, which way do you find easiest? Well, graphing, I think, showed to be the easiest one. The only problem with graphing, it won't give you the exact answer if I ask for an exact solution. And in order to justify it, you might have to graph the paper, do all the graph on your paper. We didn't on that example, we just looked at decimals. So if I just say solve it by graphing, I would definitely solve it by graphing by using decimals. Factoring works out pretty short, but it has to equal to 0, and not everything is factorable. That's where we come into. Using the square root, that's pretty basic. If you just have x squared equals a number, just take the square root of both sides. Completing the square works because we don't care if it is factorable. We'll make it factorable. The only problem is if you have a number in front of x squared or b isn't a nice number, it gets kind of complicated really quick. Quadratic works all the time, but notice it's kind of long, isn't it? For the test, you'll have to know how to do all of these. You can't just graph every single question. There'll be certain questions I'm going to say factor. There'll be certain questions I say complete the square. There'll be certain questions I say graph it. And certain questions that I say use the quadratic formula. Or certain questions I say complete the square. Now, there'll be certain questions I don't care, then you can use whatever you want there. Now, the second part of our lesson, we're going to look at just the discriminant, because not every quadratic equation has an answer. And the discriminant can shorten that up for us. So, for example, the discriminant is the part underneath the square root sign. The part that says b squared minus 4ac. Notice on this problem, if I graph it, it never crosses the x-axis. There are no solutions on this one. On this problem, when I graph it, it crosses it once. There's one solution on this one. And on this problem, it crosses it twice. How can I tell just by looking at the discriminant? Well, the discriminant is negative. It means it's not going to cross the axis. If the discriminant is 0, that means there's only one answer. We probably could have done that by just taking the square root of both sides. And if the discriminant is positive, we got to know that answer. There's going to be two answers for positive.